Hi, welcome to God Talk. I'm Bridget Berry Meehan. In this program, we'd like to discuss the healing science of yoga. Our guest is Dhananjaya Kumar, president of Yoga Systems. Welcome, it's great to have you with us today. Well, would you begin by telling us a little bit about the healing science of yoga?
Thank you, Sister Bridget, for inviting me to your program. Yoga is an ancient science coming from India, at least 5,000 years old, and it has evolved over the centuries. And in the West, it's a recent phenomenon, maybe 40 or 50 years ago. And during that period, the application and practice of yoga has also grown into this country. And as a result, now, as you have seen last week in Newsweek cover story, in US News and World Report cover story, the healing benefits of yoga are very much recognized, and even the medical profession is coming slowly to recognize the benefits.
Yes, I was amazed when I looked at your yoga practice, and also when I read the articles saying that certain practices have certain health benefits, and medical doctors today are recommending certain yoga techniques to deal with certain ailments. Could you just address maybe a few of those to sort of pique the interest of our listeners?
Yes, that's a very positive development that physicians are in fact recommending, especially for cardiac patients, for stress and for other types of ailments. That is partly because there has been a lot of medical research done in this country, in India, in Europe, in Russia, that establishes the medical benefits of yoga. Now, for the how yoga helps in the health benefits is that the knowledge of yoga is so vast. The physical postures, the breathing techniques, meditation, internal cleansing, energy locks, and gestures, all these techniques together promote the healing. Now, what I have done over the past 10 years as I started teaching yoga is to try and organize all this knowledge into regimens, into packages, so that, for example, for respiratory problems dealing with asthma, allergies, colds, coughs, flu, etc., how yoga postures and breathing techniques can be organized and put together into one video program to help respiratory problems. Similarly, there are gastrointestinal problems, there are cardiac problems, circulatory, all kinds of problems. And not only dealing with problems, but people who are not sick can also improve their well-being by having a more productive, more peaceful, and more healthy lifestyle.
Well, I watched this wonderful Yoga Systems, your whole tape, and I was simply amazed at some of the stretches, and I loved one part where they did healing meditation. They were, of course, I liked it because they were laying flat on the floor and breathing deeply, and that was the easiest thing for me to do. I did try some of the stretches. Some were hard, and some were possible, and I think if I stayed at it, I probably could improve. But I was really impressed by the mind, body, spirit, because I'm also interested in healing, and I like the holistic approach, and that seems very much where we intersect in interest from the east to west, that there's a great interest in going deeper and seeing the power of the mind in healing. But I think the roll-in, that we do have a roll-in that we'd like to show a little bit of one of these 62 tapes of yours to show some of the basics, I believe some of the basic stretches, and then after we have the 5-minute roll-in, we'll continue to talk about what these poses do and how they help in cleansing and healing the body.
Sure.
So as soon as our director is ready, we'll roll them in.
Namanasana. Grab the ankles with both hands and slowly bend forward. Place top of the head on the floor in front of the knees. Raise the buttocks as high as possible, allowing the chin to press against the chest, keeping the thighs perpendicular. Remain in this position for a few seconds. Continue to breathe with awareness at the crown center. Then return the buttocks on the heels, and with inhalation slowly lift the head and rise up. Relax. Crown rolling or Shirsha Naman. Place your hands on the floor in front of you about 18 inches from the knees. Bend forward to place the crown of the head on the floor between the hands. Gently swing back and forth to roll from the forehead to back of the head without putting too much pressure on the head or the neck. Keep your attention at the crown center and repeat the rolling a few times. Then stop and inhale to rise up and relax. Camel pose, Ushtrasana. From the thunderbolt pose, rise on the knees with hands on the hips. Push the hips forward, arching the back, and then moving the hands on the heels, one at a time. You may keep the head up or bring it down to rest between the shoulders. Hold the position. Continue to breathe normally with attention at the base of the throat. When you are ready to come out, you will first exhale and with inhalation rise up and return to the thunderbolt pose, placing your buttocks just inside of the heels and relax. Swaying thunderbolt pose or Tiryak Vajrasana. To begin, stretch the arms up, joining the palms together. Slightly lift the buttocks up and slide to your left, placing the left buttock on the floor and leaving the right buttock on the left heel. Tilt the upper body to the right, come up with inhalation, and move to the other side. Swing from side to side. Then stop and return to thunderbolt pose.
Kumar, could you share a little bit about what we just saw, what they're good for, what those, some of those looked hard to me, I have got to be honest.
Well, I must say that all these tapes contain a segment which is very easy. This was something like the intermediate segment of the tape. A little bit difficult, but after some practice you should be able to do it. The couple of postures that you saw, one was the camel pose, bending back, extending the throat and expanding the abdomen and the chest, is basically to massage the abdominal organs, because the tape is for gastrointestinal disorders, and expand the chest, improve breathing, and by expansion of the armpit and neck, etc., this also improves lymph drainage, which helps immune system as well. After that, you saw the twisted thunderbolt pose, or Tiryak Vajrasana, which was again bending from side to side, the colon rising from here, falling there, and other abdominal organs are stretched and squeezed. Now, stretching and squeezing and releasing of the muscles and organs is particularly healthy at the physical level. But the real benefit, the healing benefit of yoga, I believe, comes from a deep relaxation, because it is during deep rest, such as in deep sleep, that your body and mind is rested and the healing occurs.
I found it fascinating that that they are now starting to actually do studies of the effect on the body and the effect on helping to prevent and to cure disease.
Yes, yes. These studies have gone on for many years, and there are hundreds of studies which have been published in journals. NIH is undertaking a number of studies, but one of the earliest ones were on the mind-body connection. That was done probably in the 60s, early 60s, at medical colleges in the US, that how deep relaxation promotes healing and reduces physical ailments as well as mental ailments, because eventually most of the physical ailments are only manifestations. They show up in the body, but they originate somewhere else. A sick body is not a sick body. It begins with a sickness in the mind first, and that may have to do with memories, with emotions, with trauma, with habits, lifestyle, all that, which sort of disturbs the function of the physiology.
Right.
And disturbs the distribution of energy in the body, which over time accumulates. These disturbances accumulate, and they show up as an ailment. By then it's already late to cure. So prevention is better. Now, as far as treatment and cure is concerned, of course, yoga is not a substitute for conventional allopathic medicine, especially for acute conditions, emergencies, and so on and so forth.
So people regularly use a physician?
Yes, they should go to the physician.
Right.
Yoga and other alternative therapies is to complement, is to add something that if you are in severe pain, you probably need medication, but if you have a recurring pain, to prevent that, alternative therapies may be more helpful.
Well, I really can relate to much of this because I wrote a book on the healing power of prayer, and I was focusing on the inner healing, healing the mind and the soul.
Right.
And I was very much tuned in to that our attitudes and bitterness or anxiety in our lives can really cause physical pain and discomfort and even illness. So I find it fascinating that the bringing in the body part, you know, that your body, doing things with your body to really stretch and integrate the mind, the body, and the spirit together as one, to recognize that, I think sort of helps to bring it together. So I see yoga and healing prayer coming very much together in sort of a partnership. Now, you brought some very interesting pictures. I'd love you to show our viewers some of those pictures, and what kind of ailments would they help, and how do you see them as a healing kind of
Well, this one, for example, is called shoulder stand. It is probably not a real beginner's posture. This is an inverted pose. Your weight is resting on the shoulders and back of the head and arms. But as you can see, the base of the throat is tightly squeezed. That stimulates the metabolism and prevents hypothyroidism. as well as being inverted increases blood supply to the brain, which is good for healthy brain function, as well as the inversion reduces the pressure on the blood vessels in the lower body, so that prevents things like varicose veins, and it also prevents, because the pressure is off from the pelvic floor, so it also prevents things like hemorrhoids, colitis, and things like that.
How long would you keep a pose like that?
Each pose differs. This one in the beginning, of course, it's contraindicated for high blood pressure, hypertension, so you should be careful with that. You would be careful with that. Right. Do it for a short time. So as you are building up the practice, you probably will do it for maybe 10-15 seconds. As you become more comfortable, your body adjusts. You probably will do it for a couple of minutes, maybe up to 4 or 5 minutes. It is after 1 or 2 minutes that the inversion benefits really materialize, and you get the maximum benefit out of this this pose, which is called shoulder stand. Now this one is also shoulder stand, but as you can see, this is like an advanced shoulder stand, because
I'm in pain just looking.
It is done.
What a challenge!
It is done in lotus pose. So
wow.
the feet are in lotus pose, and the rest of the body is in shoulder stand.
So is that the same kind of benefits as standing on your head? The same benefit.
Additional benefits are that this also opens up the hips and is good for the joints, such as the knee joints and ankles, etc. So this has an additional benefit, but this is not for the beginners.
And it's certainly not for me. But I would love to aspire to something like that.
I can show you another one. This is called the two angles pose. You can see a good stretch in the lower back, expansion of the chest that promotes improved breathing, and you see squeezing of the shoulder blades that expands the chest, improves the posture, and this is also a slightly inverted pose, which means the head is below the heart, which means that there is increased circulation of blood to the brain.
You wouldn't get dizzy? I mean, is it possible to get dizzy? You
see, the first rule in yoga is that don't do anything to hurt yourself. If you are uncomfortable, you just don't do it, or do it for a very short period of time. As soon as you begin to feel any discomfort or dizziness or pain, you simply ease out of the posture comfortably.
And that would show also the importance of having a yoga teacher or guru to begin these stretches with, so you wouldn't hurt yourself.
That's right, that's right. Now this posture, for example, is called the spinal twist, which is good for the spine and flexibility as well, but you can see one side of the lower abdomen is tightly squeezed.
Yes.
Now this posture also will appear on that tape which deals with gastrointestinal disorders. So it prevents constipation and other GI issues. Also improves the posture, and by twisting you can see the arms are stretched and the legs are stretched in the opposite direction. So this spinal twist is very beneficial for health. I can show you a couple of these balancing poses. Now you mentioned body mind. Now all the postures that have to do with balancing, that is basically a mind exercise, because if you have disturbed mind, if you have thoughts and memories in the mind, you will lose balance. So the fact that these poses are in a balanced position, which means that the mind has to be clear. Now clear mind, relaxed mind is really the key to healing as far as yoga is concerned.
Right, right. Well, very, very interesting. How about, is it safe, do you think, for most people to just start out and attend a class? What do you recommend for people like me who would really be at the very beginning stage? Would you recommend the tapes, watching videos, listening to CDs, or would you recommend going to a class or a combination thereof?
Of course, there is no substitute to learning from a teacher. The tapes are second best. The beginning 15-20 minutes of the tape are for beginners. Then it builds up into more intermediate postures, and later on internal cleansing and meditation and energy channeling. All those components are there. It's very comprehensive.
Right.
On average, they're about 120 minutes long.
When I watched, I noticed I could do the initial exercises
right.
I could do, and I sort of felt
Yeah, they're
good about
basically,
that.
you know, twisting and turning, rotation, stretches, which prevents arthritis and circulatory issues.
And that brings up another question. You don't have to be in good health to begin yoga.
That's
like,
right.
for example, if you have arthritis, there are specific things you can do, like you were saying for indigestion or for colitis or any of those gastro.
Right.
This whole tape is for that,
Deals
but you
with
have
that.
62 others that are geared for other kinds of things, such as arthritis or motor disorders.
Right. So it works both ways. One is prevention, of course.
Right.
If you don't have a particular ailment, but you are prone to it, either genetically or lifestyle, habit, diet, nutrition, all that. So if you are prone to certain kind of ailment, I think it's a good idea to begin yoga practice early on so that you can prevent it. Secondly, if there is an onslaught of a condition, depending on which stage, if it is an early stage or advanced stage, you can always do something which may not provide immediate cure, but it would certainly help to control it. Not only to control it, but to reduce the suffering associated with that particular ailment.
I'm thinking I have a history of family diabetes, and are there specific interesting things that a diabetic can do? Because I know that a neuropathy, you know, the disease that touches the nerve endings, causes problems. If your body hurts like that, is there something that yoga offers to diabetics who are hurting?
Actually, there are some ailments for which yoga is particularly effective, and I would say diabetes is one.
Oh, great.
It deals with the health of the pancreas, and one or two postures which allow the pancreas to be squeezed and released, so the blood circulates better and the functioning of that particular organ improves. So there is a posture called the bow pose or dhanurasana, which is you lie flat on the abdomen and lift your head and legs up so that the body weight rests on the abdomen. So it squeezes the pancreas. So, and there are other exercises for that.
How about for kidneys?
For kidneys, as I was showing you this particular posture, and of course there are many others, this one, for example,
Would be good for
spinal
kidneys.
twist, because kidneys are located in the back here.
Right.
So when you twist on one side, it really squeezes the kidneys. It's not obvious from this particular picture, but
Right.
it's an internal. If you visualize the inside working of the body, when you twist, you squeeze the kidneys. So spinal twist is good for kidney function.
And I find it fascinating that for 5,000 years, or for many thousands of years, the East has been practicing yoga, and it's sort of a newer discovery with the West. If we were to travel like to China or to India, would this be something people would do as a regular part of their routine every day?
Well, to a large extent, yes. I mean, it's part of life. You would see people in the park, on the street, and the way, for example, ladies cook at home. So yoga is kind of incorporated into daily life.
Well, what does that have to do with cooking?
Well, the way you would sit, the way you would eat, the way you would walk, the way you would sleep, all these are borrowed from the yoga tradition.
Well, is there a yoga way of sleeping?
Yes, there's yoga way of sleeping.
Well, could you share that? I mean, I find this fascinating.
I can explain to you by showing this particular, it's an audio, which says Yoga Nidra, or yogic sleep. And this is about 22-25 minutes. And in this particular audio, you follow the instructions, you relax, but you actually do not fall asleep. You remain awake. But the net result of that is that at the end of the 20 minutes period, you would feel as if you had 6 to 8 hours of good night's sleep.
That would remind me of a deep contemplative meditative prayer where people just breathe deeply, let go, and stay in the present moment. I think there's some integration of that.
Yes, and sometimes within a minute you can feel the effect.
Yes,
Minutes.
I have felt
and
that.
this is how ancient yogis used to perhaps stay awake for months and years.
Oh, that's great. Well, Kumar, thank you so much for being with us today. It's been wonderful having this conversation on God Talk. And in the credits, we're going to be running your web address, Yoga Systems?
Yoga System.
Yogasystem.org.
.com.
Yogasystem.com. So people could go up there and find out more things about...
Yeah, all the 62 videos are fully explained, which ailment is covered and what approach it adopts.
What approach? Great. Well, we thank you very much once again for being with us, and we thank you, our audience out there, for being with us on God Talk today. Join us soon again for more God Talk. God love you.